They thought Earth was weak, insignificant, forgotten. But when the stars turned cold, humanity reminded them who we really are. One signal, one ship, one human's wrath. The stars didn't speak, not to her, not anymore. Commander Ray Dorn sat alone on the rusted balcony of an abandoned station orbiting Titan's cold shadow. The silence out there matched the one inside her soul. A decade ago, she had been humanity's rising star, a decorated tactician, honored war veteran, respected fleet commander. Now she was a name spoken in shame, followed by whispers and what-ifs. Court-martialed, stripped of rank, forgotten. They said she disobeyed a direct order, that her arrogance got the Orestes and her family killed. But no trial, no tribunal could explain the last scream she'd heard from the comms, right before the ship vanished. Her daughter's voice, a whisper trembling with fear. "They're inside." That phrase carved itself into every breath, every heartbeat. Even now it rang in her ears like a curse or a promise. She hadn't aged badly, not physically, but her eyes, they'd seen too much. Eyes that once carried the fire of leadership, now carried ghosts. The exile hadn't broken her, not really. It had sharpened her. Away from the politics and lies, Ray found clarity in silence. Every sleepless night built resolve. Every unanswered question lit a new fire. What happened aboard the Orestes wasn't a navigational error. It wasn't human failure. It was something else. She knew it. Deep down, where grief had mutated into purpose. Her exile wasn't punishment. It was preparation. And now, after 10 years of silence, the stars had finally whispered back. A signal buried in noise, a whisper from the dead. She stood up, her hands trembling slightly, not with fear, but with something worse: hope. The stars outside the Vindicator's hull shimmered like scattered embers, distant and cold. Ray Dorn stood at the helm, her jaw clenched, breath shallow. Before her sprawled the invisible boundary of Gahart space, unmarked yet unmistakable. No human ship had ever returned from beyond it. And yet, she crossed it. The Vindicator slipped silently into the dark, stealth tech, proprietary, human, untested in this sector, cloaked its presence. Ray's fingers moved swiftly across the controls, adjusting for gravitational distortions and psionic interference. It was more than a mission. It was vengeance. The Orestes was gone, her crew presumed dead, her brother among them. The silence was unnerving. No patrols, no transmissions, just black void and a sense of trespass so strong it clawed at Ray's mind. She felt the weight of her own defiance, the enormity of what it meant to enter forbidden territory armed with nothing but purpose and a ship fueled by grief. The Vindicator sensors lit up, a faint ripple in the void. A Gahart patrol ship. Sleek, almost organic in shape, it glided through space like a predator hunting by scent. Ray held her breath, fingers ghosting over the cloaking stabilizer. The Gahart relied on psionic resonance, not visuals or radar. One slip, one surge of emotion, and she'd light up like a beacon. The patrol veered closer. Ray's heartbeat synced with the blinking interface. She directed the ship behind a dead satellite husk, rerouting energy from the main drive to life support. Moments stretched. Sweat trickled down her temple. The Gahart ship paused, hovered, then drifted away. A soft exhale escaped her lips. Humanity's ingenuity had held, for now. The signal was faint, a damaged scout vessel limping toward a repair beacon. Ray narrowed her eyes. "That's our way in," she muttered. She fired a precision EMP burst. The scout ship faltered, veered, and tumbled silently. Ray latched on with magnetic clamps and initiated breach protocol. Inside was chaos, curved walls pulsing with faint blue light, organic wires twitching like veins. At the helm was a creature unlike any she'd seen. Silver skin, 4 arms folded in meditative pose, translucent eyelids flickering. It opened its eyes. They glowed, not with hate or fear, but something deeper. Recognition? Sorrow? She aimed her pistol. "You're my prisoner now." It didn't resist, merely nodded. The ship was dying. The energy core fizzled and sparked. She extracted the pilot, now bound in a stasis field, and jettisoned the wreck. Her hands trembled. She hadn't killed it. She couldn't. Not yet. Ray stared at the alien through the glass of the containment pod. It stared back without blinking. "What are you?" she asked. The lights dimmed. A pulse echoed through the ship. Not sound, not light, memory. Ray saw her own childhood, flickering and twisted. Her brother's laugh warped. She staggered back. The Gahart communicated in emotions. Deep, layered memories shared through psionic resonance. It wasn't speaking, it was showing. "You're inside my head." The pod pulsed again. A vision. Earth. Burning. A ship the size of a continent. Screams. Not hers, but felt like hers. Tears welled in Ray's eyes. Fear and awe tangled inside her. "You do not understand what your kind unleashed," the Gahart finally said. Not in words, but in thought. Ray slammed a fist against the pod. "Then help me understand." Another pulse. A memory. Scientists unlocking something ancient beneath Mars. A whisper that never stopped growing. "It wasn't a weapon," Ray muttered. "It was a call." The Gahart nodded. "But why us? Why the Orestes?" The answer came like a blade to the gut. Curiosity, compassion, defiance. You woke the sleeper, and now it listens. Ray's stomach turned. "You destroyed the Orestes?" "Harvested," came the reply, the word wrapped in sorrow. Images flooded her mind. Crew members suspended in stasis, glowing cables burrowed into their skulls. Not dead, reprogrammed, used. "My brother," still sings, inside. She collapsed to her knees, grief strangling her breath. "I have to know where they are," Ray growled. "You will not survive." "That's not your choice." She launched the Vindicator deeper into Garrote space, ignoring the psionic spikes erupting from her prisoner. Alarms blared, space shimmered like oil on water. Then light. A lattice of white and red beams shot from a shattered asteroid, defense grid. She dove into it. The ship screamed. Ray screamed louder. She pushed through the storm of energy, burning engines, breaking reality. She would not turn back. The Vindicator tumbled out of the grid, smoking, broken, but intact. Before her, a broken moon loomed, half shattered, half shadow. And on its dark side, the facility. No lights, no signals, just silence. She landed. Black towers rose like fangs. The air was thick, the ground pulsing beneath her boots. Inside, stasis pods lined the walls, hundreds, maybe thousands. Human, alien, all linked by glowing threads. She saw him, her brother, floating, eyes closed. "Hold on," she whispered. The facility stirred, machines woke, and Ray knew the real mission was just beginning. The transport vessel hissed as it lowered into the ravine shadow. Ray emerged, her boots pressing silently into the metallic dust of the Garrote facility's outer rim. The mountains surrounding her loomed like silent judges, the air unnaturally still. The base had once buzzed with alien activity. Now, it stood in eerie silence, like a tomb. Ray's grip tightened on her pulse rifle. As she slipped into the corridor, her breath fogging in the cold, sterile air. Lights flickered dimly above, an indication of systems barely clinging to life. Shadows dance across the smooth, unhuman architecture. The Garoth favored cold perfection. No signs, no marks, just curves and logic. As she crept deeper, Ray passed sealed observation rooms, glass scratched from the inside. Discarded instruments littered the floor. And then the first sign of horror: human remains, skeletal, deformed, slumped in containment tubes. She swallowed her scream. This was no lab. It was a slaughterhouse masked in science. The deeper she went, the louder the silence felt. Her heart pounded not with fear, but with the pressure of discovery. Whatever the Garoth were doing here, it had failed. But Ray needed answers. In a sealed archive chamber, Ray found the Garoth's records. Transparent display panels lit up as she approached, automatically responding to her human biosignature. Images and holoclips flickered to life. What she saw churned her stomach. Human test subjects, some crying, some laughing manically, others blank-eyed and drooling, underwent biopsychotic probes. The Garoth were dissecting emotion, memory, identity itself. One file showed a subject with half her mind gone, still alive, whispering names that no longer meant anything. They had no understanding of emotion's fragility. To the Garoth, human consciousness was a puzzle to be cracked open, not a soul to be respected. Ray watched footage of probes drilling into frontal lobes, memories yanked from neurons and digitized, only to dissolve into noise. Subject after subject succumbed to madness. One note translated from Garoth read, "Subject terminated, unstable emotional residue." They had tried to map love, fear, grief, but found only chaos. Ray's fingers trembled. This was more than war. It was desecration. As Ray stood in the central neural lab, she realized something that chilled her deeper than any corpse. The Garoth weren't evil. They were ignorant, brilliant, calculating, and utterly disconnected from what it meant to be alive as a human. They believed emotion was code, measurable, programmable, manipulable. They thought they could break it down like chemistry. But human minds weren't formulas. They were wild, irrational, beautiful. And when the Garoth tried to bend them to order, they broke. She saw their logs, lines of data comparing brainwaves to emotional triggers, cold numbers chasing something uncatchable. Their failure wasn't just tragic, it was dangerous, because now they would fear humanity's chaos, and fear breeds violence. Ray clenched her fists. Their understanding would only escalate, unless someone stopped them. In the final chamber, Ray's feet froze. Her body refused to move forward, but her soul already knew. There, in a containment pod barely lit, floated the skeletal remains of a teenage girl. Her name still etched into a discarded ID chip beside her, Lena Voss, age 16. Ray fell to her knees. Her scream never left her throat. Memories surged, of laughter, of promises, of a bright mind and a brighter heart, now reduced to bones and ash. The Garoth had taken her child and turned her into a test case. Tears streamed down Ray's face, mixing with grime. Grief burned into rage. The weight of her loss coalesced into a vow. She would end this. For Lena. For every child lost to the Garoth's curiosity. She pressed her forehead to the pod's cold surface. "I found you, baby, and they'll pay." Ray stumbled upon a sealed medbay, its emergency power blinking faintly. Inside, curled in a corner, was a gaunt, trembling boy no older than 17. He flinched at her approach, eyes wide and hollow. Ray raised her hands. "I'm not one of them." The boy whimpered. "They broke me. My head. Too loud." Cale Wren. His name was stitched into his jacket. A prodigy, the record said. Captured during the early raids. Now half-mad, whispering equations and screams. But there was light behind the cracks. Ray saw it when she mentioned the power core. His eyes sharpened for a moment. "I can help. The overload. I know how." Ray knelt, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Then help me. Make this count." Together they had purpose. and each other's survival became resistance. Kale's hands shook, but his mind surged. Under Ray's watch, he guided her through the reactor subsystems. They crawled through steam tunnels, bypassed Garrett security locks, and reached the core. If we cross-wire the conduit junction, we trigger a cascading overload, enough to melt this whole facility into the rock. Ray hesitated. Will it be fast? Painfully, for them. Time was short. Ray planted charges while Kale coded overrides. Alarms flickered weakly. The system barely noticed them. But Ray felt the tension building, like the heartbeat of the planet beneath her feet. Are you ready? She asked. Kale nodded, eyes wet but resolute. Let it burn. As they reached the exit bay, a shadow moved. Ashelon, the Garrett defector Ray once spared, stood free. Ray, he said, please, don't do this. She raised her weapon. You know what they did. Yes, he said, voice heavy. And they'll pay. But if you destroy this place, you'll unleash fear that won't stop. The others will retaliate. They experimented on children, Ray snapped. My daughter. I know, but this act, it makes you like them. Please, there is another way. Kale growled. No, there's not. Ashelon stepped back. Then may mercy find you when this rage ends. Ray's hand trembled, but she didn't stop. Aboard the Vindicator, Ray stood before the control matrix. The weapon systems pulsed, waiting. Outside, the Garrett facility shimmered like a dying ember. Confirm targeting, the AI prompted. Ray hesitated. Images flooded her mind. Lena's laughter, Kale's broken smile, Ashelon's plea. This won't bring them back, she whispered. But it will stop more suffering, the AI replied. Her finger hovered over the trigger. One decision. Justice or vengeance. A message or a massacre. She thought of Earth, of every mother who had waited. Fire, Ray said. The Vindicator roared. The sky lit up with fury and silence. The Vindicator hung silent in the void, its metallic surface reflecting the cold glow of distant stars. Ray stood on the observation deck, staring out at the Galrot facility on the barren moon below. A harsh, unyielding wind seemed to echo from the depths of space, as though the universe itself was holding its breath. Justice, she thought bitterly, her fingers tightening around the control panel. That's what they deserve. Those who killed my daughter, those who ruined everything. Her past, the death of her daughter, the loss of everything she once held dear, was a weight she carried, like chains around her heart. It was easy to justify the mission, to convince herself that annihilating the Galrot facility was the only way to make them pay. The Galrot had conducted cruel and illegal experiments on humans, creating monsters in the process. The survivors of those trials had long since been discarded, their faces lost in the dark recesses of Ray's memory. But there are innocent lives there. Some of them didn't know. Some of them, her mind rebelled. No, they're all guilty. Her finger hovered over the launch button, ready to pull the trigger. The Galrot had shown no mercy to her kind. Why should she show them mercy now? But then the thought lingered. What if it could be different? What if sparing the innocent ones could make a difference? A small chance to redeem herself, perhaps. But was it enough to stop her? The weight of vengeance was so seductive. She closed her eyes, feeling the cold metal beneath her hands, her heart pounding in her chest. The silence was broken by a warning from the ship's AI. Incoming fleet detected. Galrot battle group. 12 ships. ETA 30 minutes. Ray's breath caught in her throat. The fleet was closing in faster than anticipated, and with it, her decision would have to be made. The countdown was already ticking in her mind, every second closer to her mission's failure. Her fingers twitched toward the console. Destroy them. End this.
Her mind screamed, but the knowledge of the approaching fleet made the weight of time all the more pressing. Her ships weren't enough to face the Galrot head-on. This was a one-shot deal. If she missed, if she hesitated, Earth would fall. Rey clenched her fists. There is no time for hesitation. The Galrot must be stopped. The truth is, they've killed enough already. This time it ends. And yet her finger trembled. The room shook as the countdown began. The system pulsed in steady rhythm. 10 seconds. 9. 8. The Vindicator's guns powered up, ready to fire. Rey, wait! Kale's voice broke through the tension, like a soft but firm rope pulling her back from the abyss. She turned, her breath sharp and fast. We don't get to lose ourselves just because they did, Kale continued, his expression torn. His face, the man who had been with her through this dark journey, was filled with the pain that mirrored her own. Rey's heart faltered. His words were like a slap to the face, but they were true. What have I become? I was no better than the monsters I sought to destroy. Her pulse quickened. I can't let this define me. I can't let revenge define me. Kale's eyes softened. Don't sacrifice who you are, Rey. You're not them. Her hand hovered over the button. The countdown continued, but for the first time, Rey hesitated. Her emotions tangled, the fire of vengeance suddenly dimming in the light of Kale's plea.
A moment of clarity. The countdown continued, but Rey snapped her hand away from the control panel. Not like this, she whispered to herself. The weight in her chest seemed to lift, but only slightly. Redirect the shot, she ordered. The AI, programmed to execute her will without question, hesitated for a fraction of a second before processing the command. Rey watched, a mixture of relief and dread swirling within her as the energy beam redirected, aimed not to destroy, but to cripple. The core of the Garrosh facility would be shattered. It would be useless for their experiments. No more children, no more innocent lives destroyed. But the researchers would live. They would be left with a choice. Rey exhaled shakily. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't vengeance, but it was something. Something better than what she had planned. I hope I did the right thing, she muttered. With the facility crippled, Rey made her way to the command room, feeling the weight of her decision sink into her bones. She knew what had to be done next. Her fingers moved swiftly, navigating through the Vindicator systems. She tapped into the Garrosh facility's internal archives and broadcasted everything. The cruel experiments, the deaths, the lies. It would reach every corner of the galaxy, spreading the truth like wildfire. As the transmission pulsed out into the dark void, Rey felt something stir inside her. A sense of justice, maybe, or closure. The galaxy would know the truth. The Garrosh could no longer hide their sins. No more silence, she whispered. As Rey and Kale prepared to leave, the Garrosh's remaining forces launched the final desperate assault. But a familiar figure appeared in the doorway. Ashalon, the one who had once been an enemy. He was wounded, but his eyes held a fierceness that Rey hadn't expected. Go, he said, his voice gravelly. I'll hold him off. No, Rey protested, but Ashalon only smiled, grim. I knew what I was signing up for. Now go. This is your fight, not mine. With a final nod, Rey and Kale fled, leaving Ashalon to sacrifice himself for a cause that had never been his own. His death wasn't a noble one, but in his last act, he proved that not all Garrosh were monsters. The Garrosh fleet retreated, broken and humiliated. Rey watched through the Vindicator's viewport as their ships scattered into the dark expanse. The victory wasn't perfect. It didn't bring her daughter back. It didn't undo the years of pain, but it was a victory nonetheless. The galaxy would know what the Garrosh had done, and Earth had seen that humanity could fight back, could expose their wrongs. It wasn't over yet, but it was a start. The transmission had been sent, the truth was out there, and Earth
Earth had taken notice. Ray stood on the bridge watching the message from Earth's leaders flash across the screen. The Garrote will answer for their crimes. Earth stands with the oppressed. It was a long-awaited reckoning. Earth was finally waking up, no longer indifferent to the galaxy's suffering. Ray had changed the course of history. The Garrote had lost the war, but Earth was just beginning to take its place among the stars. Her heart swelled. We might have lost battles, but this is our victory. She turned to Kale, and for the first time, a genuine smile touched her lips. "We did it," she said softly. Kale met her gaze, his eyes full of understanding. "Yeah, we did."
The vast, turbulent expanse of Earth's orbit seems indifferent to the commotion unfolding below. Ray stands alone in the observation bay of her ship, staring down at the planet. Her mission, once a carefully calculated act of revenge, has forever altered the galaxy's course. She's returned to a world that doesn't know whether to celebrate or condemn her. Ray's reputation on Earth is split. To some, she's a criminal, wanted for acts of insurrection against an alien empire, for breaking orders. But to others, she's a hero, a symbol of resistance against the Garrote's atrocities. Her very name stirs both admiration and fear. As she descends toward Earth, the reality of her situation settles in. There is no going back to the life she once knew. She thinks of the faces of the victims, the Garrote researchers she spared, and the innocent lives she saved. But then there's the image of her daughter, gone forever because of the experiments conducted at the Garrote's facility. Was the vengeance worth it? Was the bloodshed worth the sacrifice? As the ship's engines hum, she catches sight of Earth's cities, the sprawling urban landscapes now caught in an intricate web of politics and uncertainty. Ray clenches her fists, unsure what awaits her on the planet's surface. The one certainty is that things will never be the same again. The news of the Garrote's war crimes has rippled through the galaxy, creating shockwaves that no empire, no matter how powerful, can ignore. The Garrote Empire, once a symbol of galactic supremacy, now finds itself backed into a corner. For the first time, they have been forced to the negotiating table, and the air is thick with tension. On Earth, a grand conference is taking place. The representatives of Earth and the Garrote are seated across from each other in a room laden with tension. Holographic projections of star maps and dossiers float in the air, detailing the atrocities the Garrote had inflicted. The atmosphere is heavy, distrust thickening the air like smoke. Ray watches from the sidelines. She's an outsider now, her presence both a symbol and a reminder of the storm that has shaken the galaxy. Earth's leadership is divided. Some push for harsh retaliation, but others call for diplomatic solutions. The Garrote are too torn. Their empire is faltering, and the weight of their past actions is now a burden too great to bear in silence. "We didn't know the full extent," one Garrote diplomat protests, his voice tense. "Then you failed to ask the right questions," Ray replies, her voice cold. She stares at the Garrote representative, her eyes seething with unspoken anger. Ray stands at the door of the military's command center. Behind her, the hustle of military life continues. Orders are given, schedules are made, and strategies are devised. Yet, none of it feels right to her anymore. A high-ranking officer approaches her, offering a reinstatement to her former position. "Ray, you've earned your place back. You saved lives, exposed the truth. Earth needs you. The military needs you." Ray takes a breath, staring into the officer's eyes. She knows what this offer means. It's a return to a life of structure, duty, and obedience. A life where decisions are made for her, not by her. But that's not the life she wants now. "I've seen enough of command to know that it's not for me anymore. I can't go back to being just another soldier." Her rejection of the offer is met with silence. There's an understanding in the officer's eyes. Ray's journey has irrevocably changed her. She is no longer a tool of the military.
She is something else entirely.
Kale's days of silence are behind him. Once a broken man, haunted by the horrors he survived, he now stands tall in front of a room full of Earth's leaders. The survivors of the Garrett's experiments are counting on him. He is their voice, their advocate in a world that has long turned a blind eye to their suffering. Humanity, Kale begins, his voice shaking slightly but gaining strength with each word, has a choice. We can either bury the past and pretend nothing happened, or we can face the truth and fight for those who have no voice. Ray watches him from the back of the room, a small, knowing smile tugging at her lips. She knows the pain that still haunts him, but she also knows how far he has come. He is no longer the man who fled from the Garrett's atrocities. He is now the face of the resistance, the voice of the voiceless. On a cracked and flickering comm screen, a Shellen's image appears, his features drawn with exhaustion. The Garrett warrior, once an enemy, is now a figure caught between duty and compassion. They do not forgive like we do. A Shellen's voice is strained, but there's clarity in his words. But they remember, and they love. His transmission is cut short, but those words linger in the minds of everyone who hears them. It's a final glimpse of humanity within the Garrett, a fleeting moment of redemption. Ray stares at the screen, a mixture of emotions swirling inside her. A Shellen's sacrifice, his act of defiance against his own people, shows her that even the most ruthless enemies can have their moments of clarity. But will it be enough to change the Garrett? Time will tell. Earth and the Garrett seem to be at peace, but things are tenuous. Diplomatic talks have ended, and a fragile truce has been established. Earth is hesitant, its leaders unsure whether to trust the Garrett or remain on high alert. Ray stands on the balcony of Earth's council building, looking out at the city below. The streets are quieter than they used to be. Uncertainty hangs in the air like a fog that refuses to lift. The Garrett are retreating, but they are not yet defeated. Ray knows the scars of the past will never truly fade. There is peace for now, but the threat of another war remains. The Garrett Empire is fractured, their reputation tarnished beyond repair. Yet for all the progress made, Ray cannot shake the feeling that the true battle is far from over. Earth's reputation has shifted irrevocably. No longer seen as a naive, isolated world, Earth has proven its strength, its resilience, and its capacity to face the most terrifying challenges the galaxy has to offer. Ray walks through the streets of Earth's capital, watching as people move past her, some offering nods of recognition, others turning away. She knows they see her as something different now. A hero, yes, but also something more complex, more human than ever before. The galaxy may still doubt humanity, but Earth has shown its power, its unwavering resolve. The Garrett Empire has learned that humanity is not to be underestimated. In the end, it is not brute force or alien technology that has secured Earth's place in the galaxy. It is the indomitable will of its people. And Ray knows this because she, like the rest of Earth, has survived, adapted, and evolved. The darkness of space stretches infinitely, but Ray's eyes are focused on the remnants of the Orestes. Once a symbol of humanity's courage, the colossal ship now floats in the void, broken, silent. The hull is punctured, its mighty engines long silent. Ghosts of the past whisper in the cold, a haunting reminder of the battles fought and lives lost. Ray's ship hovers nearby, its soft hum the only sound. Her fingers hover over the console, but she doesn't touch it. She doesn't need to. She knows the truth. She knows what was lost, and she knows that she carries the weight of that loss. Her voice is barely a whisper, as though speaking to the ruins, to the souls of those who gave everything for this cause. "We were more than the ship," she says softly, her words swallowed by the emptiness. The Orestes was never just a ship. It was humanity's beacon in the dark, and now it is only a tomb. Her gaze lingers for a moment, as if expecting the wreckage to speak back, but it doesn't. Only the quiet of space answers her. The hum of the ship's systems fades as Ray taps a few buttons on the console. The decoded signal plays, filling the cockpit with a voice that she has heard before. The voice of her daughter. "Mom, don't stop. Please, keep fighting. Don't let them win." The words are raw, strained with emotion, and Ray feels the weight of them settle over her like a heavy blanket. Her chest tightens, the knot in her stomach twisting. Her daughter's voice, so full of hope, now carries the burden of a war that took everything from her. Tears threaten, but Ray won't allow them. Not here, not now. "I hear you, child. I hear you." Her voice cracks, but she steels herself. The message is a call to action, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the fight is never over. She pauses the signal, then looks out at the stars. Somewhere out there, her daughter's words will echo forever. With trembling hands, Ray reaches for the final switch, activating the beacon. The signal pulses outward, spreading across the cosmos like ripples in water. It will continue long after she is gone. Her daughter's voice, a legacy for all who might hear it. "Mom, don't stop, please." Ray stares at the screen, watching as the beacon sends her daughter's memory into the abyss. This was her last act, a mother's final promise. Her daughter will never be forgotten, and neither will the fight for the future they both believed in. Ray sits back, the weight of the moment pressing on her shoulders. She knows the battle is over, but this is where her personal fight ends. She's no longer a soldier, no longer a weapon. She is a mother, a guardian of memory, and now the keeper of her daughter's last words. As the signal continues its journey into the unknown, Ray reflects on the years that brought her to this point. She can still hear her daughter's voice, clear and unwavering. One signal started it, one ship reached them, one human's wrath made them listen. Ray closes her eyes, the finality of her journey settling in. One person, one single human had changed the galaxy. The Orestes, the war, the loss, all of it led to this moment. Her wrath, her defiance had been the catalyst, the spark that ignited change. Her thoughts drift to the future, to the human she fought for, to the galaxy that now knows the strength of humanity. "We are not weak," she whispers to herself. "We are not to be ignored." The final message blinks on the screen in front of her. End transmission. With one last glance at the empty space where her daughter's voice now echoes, Ray turns her ship towards Earth. The past is behind her, but the future, humanity's future, is ahead.